This was something else completely, and I think because of the background story to it. And then the typeface was more than simply, okay, I have a newspaper, I'm going to do a typeface for the titles. I've done that before, and the brief can be explained in 5 minutes, and that's it, and you move on. But this typeface needed to be the voice of the newspaper in times of trouble, it was a way to rejuvenate and to move on. So the design of the typeface is a classical newspaper typeface design. It is the An-Nahar, a headline typeface, as can be expected, very bold. The counters are still open. It has very compact proportions so that you can fit as much into the headlines as possible. But you find, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, you find sharp angles. And you find, how do you say, like if you look at the alif, which looks like the shape of a pen, if you're looking here, and that was the first character I drew, there's the 90 degrees angle, there's the sharpness of it, but at the same time, still very strong, but not too sharp, because you don't want to be too aggressive. You just want to say, you know what, you might intimidate us, but that's just not going to work. And and that's really what you're looking for in the typeface. And when you look at the curves, there's these sculpted forms where you have very slightly curvy characters. So the curve is very shallow, and then they're intersecting very strongly, and you feel like there's, like in curves like these over here, it's almost like there's a little bit of puff of wind in them, that sort of like when you take in a breath and you're like holding yourself, you're bracing yourself, and this is what I was supposed to do. You still see the calligraphic influence, you still see the motion of the pen and the contrast and the clarity of the forms, but the main effect is that of something which is very stable. So it needed to be solid without being clumsy, and that's what I was hoping to go for. This is a sample of the two weights, and in this case we would have liked to do more weights, but budget was an issue and timing was an issue. So they're simply for the titles. Again, you're not going to be setting paragraphs in them, but just to show what sort of characters you can get. What else? This is the old typeface compared with the new typeface, so I'm just going to zoom in and show you. So again, the structures are quite conservative. There is nothing, like I usually don't do conservative things. I like to play on the edges and mix things and do hybrids and, you know, explore. But in this case, I mean, people are reading it, so you stick to the conservative, to what people are used to, and then you play within that field to try to give it the maximum that you can do. So when you're looking at forms like these, for example, look at this, and this is the old, this is a new, okay? So look at this like sharp little tingly thing. I mean, why should it be there? The curve is not so clean. You cannot see the movement of the pen, because a pen would not give you something this jagged unless you're a very, very lousy calligrapher. If you look at forms like these, the blob at the end, this curve is not really well defined. I went away from these because they're creating issues with spacing, and cut it off a little bit sharper. This is not so traditional in Nasr, but it's possible in other forms, so it's not unconventional. Again, you keep the counters open. If you're looking at this scene, which is like 3 upright strokes, the first of which is usually very similar to the upstrokes of the B or the Y, and then the rhythm here is like falling backwards. This is not the solid, position that you want to have visually or metaphorically. And so with the new design, everything was in its place, and these were a little bit, subdued, so that you get more differentiation between the two. We had to look at these stops in the middle so that we break the continuity of the horizontal line. This is typical, it's not such a big thing. And again, like this is saying Lebanon, and you want that every word looks complete in itself. It's sculptured on its own, and it needs to be, again, as solid as possible. And so when you look at the impact between the one on top and the one on the bottom, the one on top is it's working. It worked for many, many, many years, but the presence is not there, and the squiggly little details are taking away from the effect that you would want to have. Again, because I was looking at the overall typography, we kept their text face. We didn't change that. That's what you see over here. And what we tried, what needed to happen is that the new headline typeface would work really well with the text face as well. So there were forms in the text face, like the he, like this one over here, which I brought into the headline, and was just like keeping it in mind. So when I design, I am looking at both headline and text together, because I mean they're gonna be side by side. So it's the reality of how things are. So you have to take it into consideration. And then so we coupled it also with Universe Next Arabic, which I had designed and we had just released, so that you get contrast between something which is new and something which is a little bit more conservative, modern looking but traditional. But no, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, contemporary but classically proportioned. So the Universe Next Arabic gave it a little bit of an edge and brought a bit more modernity and contemporary feeling to it. So this is from the artwork, which was not 100% complete. I'll show you the pictures of the final one in a bit. Just for you to see, this is from a supplement called An-Nahar, lifestyle supplement. This is one of the inside spreads. And the cool thing with being able to work with Mario on the typography is that I was looking at things like leading and spacing and column width and which typeface and type size you are using in every single possible situation. So at the end of the day, the newspaper ended up like a type specimen for two of my typefaces, for which I'm glad. Thousands of them printed every day, so that's cool. And as a type designer, you usually lose control after you've submitted the typeface, but when you work on the typography and you have the support of designers and the client, you are able to see how your typeface is functioning in its bigger environment, and so you are controlling both the black and all the white in which it sits. So this was one of the artworks for spread. This is the first issue being printed. So I was, of course, when the issue was being designed, I was there on hand, and also when it was being printed at 3 a.m. in the morning, because, I mean, come on, I was barely sleeping when I was designing, I could barely sleep at night because I was so excited that I was finally doing this, and such an amazing and inspiring project. And so, of course, I was there for it being printed. The next day, we had a party for the launch of the newspaper, and it disappeared immediately. So this was the first issue. The black thingy on the top is an ad for Johnny Walker. It's not usually there, so it doesn't look like so black usually. This is the word An-Nahar written in the new An-Nahar typeface called Gibran 2005, after Gibran Twaini, the assassinated chief editor, 2005, for the year he died. And again, you see the typeface seems to, well, survive printing. So it's actually quite cool. The black doesn't look so black because this was like the first issues of the press, so they hadn't calibrated things and they weren't even yet dry. So my issue, I have only one issue of the first one, it has my fingerprints on it because it just really wasn't dry. So yeah, but anyway, and so we see here some of the highlights with the Universe Next Arabic sitting next to the other typefaces with the Gibran 2005. This is now the actual printed issue with the Nahar, the supplement. Again, zoom in on the way the type is being printed. Of course, this was really huge size, but we didn't get any problems. And the reaction to this actually was really cool because lay people, where their feedback was that it's very easy to read now, the newspapers. That was really cool. This is again the printed form of one of the spreads. This is Elisab. He's saying Mabruk, so congratulations to An-Nahar. He's Lebanese, of course, and they had a whole spread about his work. He's going to be having a pret-a-porter line for the women here, if you guys want, next year. So he's hopefully not as expensive and unaffordable as he is now. Anyway, so that was it. The very amazing reaction from the public to the newspaper. And the last thing, and this came by coincidence. So in one of the rallies, Gibran Twaini had made what we call a qasam, like an oath, that we swear, Muslims and Christians, we swear to God, Muslims and Christians, to stay united forever, in defense of the great Lebanon. And this is one of the quotes, his most famous quote. And I had always expected that they would leave it in the text face in Marwan. It's printed on the top of every newspaper. And then we switched, and they set it in the Gibran. And I had like goosebumps because typeface fits the spirit of the guy speaking it. So so that was like a good thing at the end. It worked. And so that was it, and thank you.